you can also plan from the bottom up in Anaplan. And so, and sort of that process kind of starts with strategic initiatives, starts by that high level target setting, starts by resolving projected problems of capacity. Now we've got our top down plan. Now we can start building from the bottom up. And really that starts with, a planning calendar. So here's a dashboard that's used in quite a different way than what you've seen already, which is looking at a body of work, breaking that body of work down to tasks, assigning those tasks to owners, and then giving them start and end dates, and having them being able to mark whether those tasks are complete or not. And again, this also helps with new people coming into finance, because again, finance is not immune. Finance has had a lot of turnover as well and continues to do so. So new people coming in can immediately understand kind of what they need to do from a planning standpoint. And now if we look at sort of some different planning capabilities, if we start with, salaries and benefits, which is kind of that big ticket item, what you have here is, being able to kind of add new headcount. So here we have our existing employee headcount, existing complement, which again is connected to your HRIS system. So we talked about Anaplan fitting into your existing stack and connecting to different systems to deliver that single source of the planning truth. Well, importing your existing employee roster into Anaplan is that starting point. If you're planning kind of at that named employee level, where you've got your existing complement, you can then layer on things like transfers and terminations as well, and also layer on new heads. So in this case here, what we have is, in this example, is the ability to kind of add a new employee. I can add them to the direct sales. So again, this is like adding, we needed to add like 8 more people. This is sort of one of those 8. And again, you could add all 8 at the one time. You could plan, at the FTE level if you wanted to, or you can plan kind of at the individual level, which is what this one is doing here. And, we could give them a role. So in this case, we'll add that junior person. You can layer in kind of what their start date is. So in this case, maybe I'll start them, let's say September 1st of 2022. And based on that, you'll notice that Anaplan has automatically started populating their salary and all their fringe costs based on their start date and based on their role as well. And you can also put in things like salary overrides as well. So if we wanted to suddenly, maybe we have, because it's a tight labor market or whatever, we had to put in like 100,000, we can make that override, but you'll notice that that's no longer approved. So you can have like a salary grid table that kind of outlines like your min, max, and midpoint for a given role. And if you go outside of that as the hiring manager, because you have to, you can then have a workflow approval process around that where you can actually, an approver would have to go in and accept that override. So you can make those adjustments and so on. But you can see that Anaplan's automatically calculated the impact, the salary impact. And you'll notice that when I select the start date, I have a pop-up calendar. So what happens if we start this person like midway through September? If we take a look at that salary calculation in September, you can see that Anaplan's automatically recalculated based on the number of days that person is actually working. So Anaplan is very like day, month, year aware, and can really help you refine your plan by allowing you to layer in that specific day, month, year combination, to do your planning. Okay, so that's just a quick example of some bottom up. Another example I just want to quickly share with you as well is if we go into G&A, here's an example where you can just layer on like year-over-year adjustments. So we have our prior year actuals. I can go ahead and put in like let's say a 5% increase. And you can see the current year budget has automatically updated for that. You'll notice here that if I start sort of changing these growth rates, right, and you can see the Anaplan is just dynamically recalculating, again, part of that in-memory calculation engine. But what I'm also doing is building a history for this particular cell. So you can right-click on this cell, you can show history, you can pick whatever time horizon you want, and you can immediately see the date and time of the change, the user who made the change, the previous value and the new value, and where that change was made. So and this occurs for every single cell on the platform. So every cell has a unique story, unique history, unique lineage. You can expose that just by drilling on that, showing the audit log for that particular cell. And the other thing too is auditors love Anaplan because you have this detailed audit tracking and history. So every interaction within the platform, whether it's creating a new hierarchy, whether it's doing a reorg, whether it's adding new users, whether it's changing data, whether it's changing security, whether it's changing calculations, are all trapped in a very comprehensive audit trail that can be reviewed. Okay, so that's, and also too, what you've got is, you can see that this sort of color here is a little bit different than this one here, and that's because this is an input versus this is a calculation. So, wouldn't it be great if you could actually understand how things are being calculated? Well, Anaplan provides this self-service capability called drill down that allows you to actually drill into the business rules. So in this case here, you'll notice that we actually have a bit of a condition here. So similar to Excel, where you have like an if function, Anaplan has an if function as well, where it says, you know what, if they use the detailed forecast checkbox is checked, go use that detailed forecast. Otherwise, take your prior year actuals and apply 1 plus the year-over-year growth rate to determine what that number is. And what Anaplan provides is not only the easy to understand calculations, because you're not using cell references or using very complex scripting like other tools would use. You got the names that you choose to give things. Then when you drill in, you get the formula. Then you also get the inputs to the calculation. And again, modeling in Anaplan is very similar to modeling in Excel. If you think about Excel, where you have like a formula bar and you have a function library and you have like rows, columns, and different tabs, Anaplan's very similar, where you have a formula bar, basically the exact same position as the Excel formula bar. You have a function library that basically maps one-to-one to the Excel function library. And in many cases, we've improved on it and made it more efficient, because Anaplan has a lot of things that Excel doesn't have, which is it's multidimensional, it's hierarchical, it's scalable, it has security, and it has workflow. So, and it's also, instead of using cell references, you give names to what we call line items, and those names become the basis of your calculations. So, and again, like instead of having to do things like VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, Anaplan is much more efficient because we just use a lookup function, because Anaplan just inherently understands, its hierarchies and kind of where it's at. Also too, Anaplan understands the linearity of time. So it understands that May comes after April and May comes before June, and understands also that 2021 comes before 2022 and 2022 comes after 2021. So if you think about that, it becomes very easy to create calculations within Anaplan, taking advantage of its multidimensionality, its hierarchies, and also its understanding of native time.